This is going live.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, sometimes we edit it a
Mhm.
little bit afterwards, but yeah, we like to go live. Shannon Lavenia in the house, brand builder, AI CEO, my really good friend and soon to be yours. Shannon, welcome to the show.
Yay. Thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
I am super excited because I met Shannon for the first time about 2 3 months ago, and it does not feel like that we only know each other for the last 3 months, because it's the impact that a person can have, and I learned this actually from my guest yesterday, Shannon, Ari, and he's a productivity expert, and he talks about not the actuality of the work happening, but how effective that work is. So
Mhm.
so our time,
Mhm.
I felt that was extremely effective. The time we spent in the bus going and forth from our events and things like that, and just talking and hanging out and stuff like that. The effectiveness, and the same thing, I could have spent a weekend partying with my buddies, and the effectiveness would not have been there, right? So and I think you do a lot. You lead from the heart. I really want my audience to meet you today. But welcome to the show. Tell us a little bit about who Shannon is, and what are you doing with Brand Builder AI?
I'm so excited to be here with you. And I felt the same way. It was so great to connect with you at the event. We had great conversations. And I think we both operate the same way where we're kind of open books and we just want to help other people. And we're not, like, oh, no, pay me first and then I'll help you. So it was really an incredible event. So I am the CEO of Brand Builder AI. I actually own three go high level agencies, and we've been behind the scenes at the launch of some other really big ones like 10x Scale. And I've been an entrepreneur since 2002 when I left my high school teaching career and started my first business selling personal development products for Bob Proctor, and found high level a couple years ago. I've had a branding and marketing company since 2013 and have been really blessed with that agency. We've done multiple seven figures just on referral. We've done very well. And then we found high level really as a way to grow our own business. We were tired. I shouldn't say tired, I should say exhausted, fed up, and ultimately just pissed off at our tech stack and
Mhm.
looking for a solution to make it a lot more streamlined and cohesive. Because what we train our clients is that the more things you integrate, the more money you lose, the more challenging it is to onboard new staff members because they have to learn all of these systems and how they work and the theory behind it. And the harder it is to update as you're going along, because if you update one thing, you have to update a lot of different systems. So we were really looking for that all-in-one solution, and it tried a lot of their competitors and weren't happy with any of them. So we found high level and then discovered the agency model and brought that into our product lineup, and it's been phenomenal. Our clients love it. We've done extremely well with it. We love the community. We love the leadership here. We love the owners. Honestly, we just are kind of in that place in business where you feel like everything's going well and it's going right. And now we're
Mhm.
just in, fast scale mode.
That's amazing. I think, yeah, what you guys are doing right now, that's phenomenal. But I just want to take a step back and talk to you about how did you transition from being a high school teacher to, like launching your first agency, which does multiple seven figures. It's a branding agency. And now, building another successful agency on top of that. Also convincing your husband, I think he comes in and is full time now into your business and working with him. And like, what's the story? Like, you kind of brushed over that, but I feel that's more important to us because, so many agency owners, that's why we get into the agency world, so we can buy back our time and do the stuff that we really really enjoy, but we all just end up creating a job for ourselves. So just kind of walk us through that process. uh, what what happened? How did you made it so effortless?
Okay, so it's kind of a crazy, insane story. I had no real drive to be an entrepreneur, but in 2002, my husband and I got married. And the weekend that we got married, his sales manager, the general manager, and a couple of the other managers did not show up to our wedding. And we thought, wow, this is really weird. Like, why
Hmm.
would these guys not come? My husband was the number one sales manager in their business. And we discovered when we went back to work on Monday that they used that weekend to downsize my husband. So,
Wow.
yeah, he went into his job and his office had actually been converted into 4 cubicles. All of his stuff was in a box. They didn't fire him. They just told him that he was going to have a different position, and that
Hmm.
different position had a 40% pay cut. So,
Hmm.
it kind of just gave us all the icky feeling that you have working for somebody else. And I was 28, John was 31. And shortly after that, about I would say 6 weeks into that new non position of wandering around this business without really a hat, not really knowing what his job was, and his
Hmm.
pay roller coastering, he got very sick. And we were in the hospital, and a doctor came out and said, your husband has a condition caused by stress. And if he doesn't change his lifestyle, he'll be dead within 5 years. And that was like, I was 28 years old and had just married the man that I loved. And
Hmm.
here was a doctor telling me that. So I told my husband, I said, look, I don't care about the house, the cars, any of it. I'd rather live in a tent in the desert than ever have a doctor tell me that again. And we'll just figure this out. And an
Hmm.
opportunity kind of fell in our laps to work with a company that had partnered with Bob Proctor, who was in the movie The Secret, if you know him. He's a very well known personal development sales trainer. Um, and we liked his stuff. So we started selling his products, and it was such a good opportunity. We sold his products, we sold tickets to conferences that he was speaking at. And we literally earned over $1 million in 16 months, like personal income. So that was epically life changing. We did that for 7 years. That company ended up going out of business in 2009. Like, the whole real estate market blew up, the company blew up. We went through bankruptcy and had to rebuild. And in 2013, I decided that I was going to launch a course. That
Hmm.
was like the beginning. Remember, like people were starting to learn about launching courses and doing
Hmm.
that stuff.
That's really early on.
Yeah, it was really early on. I launched a course called Get Your Own Leads, and people liked the course, but what they really loved was the design.
Hmm.
And I had hired a designer to make it beautiful. So they were all asking me, like, who did you hire? And I was like, well, we do branding. And that was how I started branding. And
Nice.
yeah, so I had my design person from the Philippines who still works with me, and she's actually here in the US now, just on the other
Nice.
side of that wall, working in my office, which is amazing.
Amazing, Shannon. That's a great story.
Yeah, and then in 2019, I told this story at the Saspreneur event. I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was very advanced. So I spent a couple years fighting it. I'm cancer free now. But during that time, I really thought, like, what is my legacy? Like, what am I leaving? What's the impact that I'm making here? And the one thing I've really been good at all along has been, even as a teacher, has been helping people do better with their business and their life, right? So I can help them solve their problems. And now we just do it with businesses. So we help them scale their businesses, clean up their organization, and really focus like on their goals and a plan to get there. And that's all we do right now is just that. And we love it. We have the best clients. We have a really great team. And I wouldn't say that it has not been easy. We've definitely had our ups and our downs. We've been at the very high, at one point I was driving a Bentley, and then, a year later I was in a tiny condo that was close enough to a daycare that I could walk my daughter because I didn't have a car. So, you go through
You
these things.
You're really a closet entrepreneur. Everything you're telling me, you didn't know that you were, but most of us don't start out like that. But you're that typical person, like who has the drive, who's able to take risks. And now, in hindsight, it all sounds like very effortless. But what you guys had to go through, right? Like starting with your husband's job, and then rebuilding a new business, then them going out of business, going through bankruptcy, then rebuilding again
Mhm.
agency, and then you having your personal, um, you know that's big one, like you just went over, right? Like personal health
Yeah,
scare, and then recovering as a person, coming back stronger. Like I've got to met you. You look amazing, by the way.
thank
and
you.
and then building out this amazing brand builder AI, where you guys are doing phenomenal work. And
Mhm.
we're going to lead into that in our question segment. But you're up on stage, you're giving out these keynotes and things like that, and you're just crushing it. So the effort that we all put in, I think it, in hindsight, it appears really simple, but you got to go through it with a smile on your face, just like Shannon's been
Mhm.
doing.
Yes.
It's a
It's
lot
true,
easier.
and that's part of entrepreneurship, right? Is like we say, "Okay, I'm gonna create my own paycheck," and it's like we really do have to create our own paycheck.
Hmm.
So,
Is your
yeah.
husband a similar mindset as you, like in terms of are you the driving entrepreneur, are you the visionary, or is he?
I'm definitely the visionary of it, and I would say John and I have very, we're very different people. So where I'm more like blah, and like a networker, and I get out there, and John is more analytical. He's a total dynamo salesperson. He is very good at making sure that the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted when we're giving
Hmm.
a product out. And
Hmm.
then, so our skill sets really complement each other.
Hmm.
And even, in our marriage, because John and I have been together for this year it'll be 24 years.
Hmm.
Um, and we've been married since 2002. So 22 years, right? And that in itself is like a big accomplishment. But I think part of it is that we navigate each other's qualities and skills and abilities, and they really weave together very well.
Hmm. Yeah, I think,
Mhm.
and that's the best part, right? Like for a partner in your business, that's what you want to look at. Luckily, you had that with your hubby, and I think the rest is history.
He was
L-
very resistant to high level, I'll tell you. And he'll even
Really?
tell you the story. Yeah, because in the hunt for something that we were going to use, I switched systems like 4 times, and it was driving him insane. He really likes stability, and
Hmm.
I really like adventure. So so when I found high level, I was like, babe, you have to look at this. Like, this is it. And he was like, not another system, not another switching another system. And then
Yeah.
finally one day I was like, okay, if you would literally, please, please, please just give me one day and look at this, I will like love you even more. And he was like, okay, I'll give it one day. And he went in his office, he shut the door, and he came out and he threw his hands up in the air and he was like, this is it. And then we were on the same page with it. So that really helped a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes people don't understand us, the visionaries, and that's why it's so important to have people like John around us, right? Like that's for
Yes.
me, that's my brothers, Athar and Yavar, and now they know that when I bring a vision to them, they've turned it into their job. that they gotta execute it, right? So
Mhm.
it's such a blessing to have that now. But yeah, initially I would get second guessed all the time, like you were, right? Probably, hey, not another system. Come on, man. Enough of those systems. But when they do go through that process and they get that aha moment, they know what we're thinking about, and that's very important to have, especially early on with your partners, because if you don't have that, because somebody's got to do the work, and it ain't me. So
That's why we connected so much, because that was part of my talk, right? Was like,
yeah,
stay in your zone.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I want to get into our segments now. Three. Let's start with the three more questions, Shannon. And I want to ask you that, and that was very profound. The keynote that you gave in Dallas at the Go High Level event, and you talked about zone of genius. So I want to ask you, what should it feel like working in your zone of genius? And what is this zone of genius?
So to put context to it, there's three zones that you can be operating in: the zone of genius, the zone of competence, and the zone of incompetence. And the zone of genius is the most free flowing of them. It's where you really enjoy what you're doing. You're seeing expansion. When people operate in their zone of genius, there's not a lot of resistance in their business. There's a lot of flow. And I
Hmm.
don't mean that in like a, spiritual woo woo way. It's like really like money's flowing in, right? Like sales
Hmm.
are coming in. There's some flow of income coming in. And also, you are able to concentrate and focus on what you're doing. When you're in your zone of incompetence, that's where you're doing things that you are not skilled at, you don't know. There's a lot of learning, a lot of frustration, and a lot of newer entrepreneurs, I've been there, get stuck in that because you're looking at your business goals, your budget, and your time, and then figuring things out for yourself. And that figuring things out for yourself can be a very long cycle if you don't get out of it quickly and start to trust other people to do the work.
Hmm.
Um, and then your zone of competence, a lot of entrepreneurs, like we just fall in this naturally because we're very capable people. We're problem solvers. We look for solutions. We're industrious. We're intelligent. A lot of entrepreneurs are in the genius band, IQ wise. You're capable. You're good communicators. You can learn quickly. You're fast on your feet. And but that zone of competence, you can get stuck in doing things that aren't going to give you the most bang for your time investment, right? Or
Hmm.
your skill investment. Like
Hmm.
I can build a workflow, but I'm not going to build a workflow. I
Hmm.
can build a funnel, but I'm not going to build a funnel. And the reason for that is because I can pay somebody $20 an hour to do that, where
Hmm.
an hour of my time could bring in 1,000, 2,000, 8,000, $25,000, right? It exponentially will bring in substantially more money than me sitting here looking at my computer making things. And
Hmm.
that that's a very fundamental concept for people. And by fundamental, I mean like it is critical. It's so important. You have to know it. You have to do it. You have to practice it. Otherwise, you'll end up devaluing your own time. And as the leader and visionary of your company, you won't expand,
Yeah,
right?
I don't think if you can get to your zone of genius,
Mm-hmm.
like what you talked about, you can't get your business will never get into the flow state that you were
Mm-hmm.
talking about, right? There would be some traction, but the flow that Shannon's talking about, I've seen how she operates her business, and that's kind of true for RepStack as well. We usually have a wait list of clients, and I can do sales. That's how we started out the business, but I haven't closed a deal in 3 years now. We've been in operation for 3.5 years. First 6 months is all I did sales. After that, it's been somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
um, and I can do all of that other stuff like you're talking about, but my time is well spent connecting with people like you, meeting the owners at GHL, all the big players there, strategically investing my time and putting myself in that room where I can bring in those multi-million dollar deals,
Mhm.
instead of just that one deal and things like that, right? And I enjoy the hell out of this thing. So,
Mhm.
so this is like, I'm having so much fun. So I think the key, what you just, what it should feel like, first of all, you should be having a ton of fun. If you're not having
Mhm.
fun and you're dreading coming to work the next day, we got to get you out of that zone of incompetence or even competence and get you into your zone of genius. So I think this concept really, really connected with me when you and I talked and when I listened to you, Shannon. And I can relate to all of the different zones that I've been in part of my lives.
Mhm.
And it's not been an overnight journey, but it definitely is possible. I would highly recommend checking out what Shannon has to say. There's a ton of stuff available from her side, and just reaching out to her if you have any questions about that. That's awesome, Shannon. Thank you for sharing that. Another question for you is, how can entrepreneurs use automation and AI, while still to do customer service, and while still keeping a personal touch, or staying having that personal touch, right? Like, that's the million-dollar question. If I automated everything, my clients, they love me. They want to deal with Azar. Like, how do we keep that personal balance with all the automations and AI that are coming out?
So I love this question. And when you have a big personality like you do, or I do, or Frank Kern does, or Molly Mahoney, like a lot of these people that have agencies have big personalities, and people do want to connect with them, but at the same time, people understand that you are operating a business. So you get to establish the own expectation, and you also get to make it like super awesome for your clients in demonstrating what you're doing that they can do too. Because if you think about it, like right now, we're in a contract negotiation with a big roofing company. They don't want to answer the calls anymore. Like that's their thing. They do not want to answer calls anymore. They want automatic booking. And we're like,
Mm,
great, check out how our AI does it. And
mm,
that in itself, right? We don't need to talk to you about it. Just go here and book an appointment through our AI, and you'll get to experience it exactly how it's going to work in your business. And that gets them really excited. For customer service, as you start to expand, what you want to do is you really want to make people self reliant. So we have office hours, which I know, Zar, you guys provide managers for that, account managers for that, having those
mm,
office hours there so they have someone to communicate with. If somebody does message you in Messenger, do not respond to it. If someone messages me in Facebook Messenger, I do not write them back.
mm.
Once I do that, they're glued to me like a little
Yeah.
baby duck, like they just found the mama duck and they're never leaving the mama duck. What I do is I screenshot it, I send it to my team, and then they reach out. So now
Mm,
the person knows, like, it's not going to be me, right? I'm
mm,
not their person. The other thing is teaching people how to find answers with Chat GPT. So we teach that right off of the beginning. We show them how to create a good prompt in Chat GPT to figure stuff out. So a really great example of it is somebody wanted to change the amount of, and this is like just a classic example I use all the time. They wanted to change the amount of white space above and below a form on their funnel. I don't know
mm,
how to do that. So I did a little video and I said, hey, this would be one of the best things to ask ChatGPT for. We went over to ChatGPT and I said, ChatGPT, can you make me some CSS code to make the white space smaller on a go high level form in a funnel? And ChatGPT came back to me and said, of course, this is the CSS code that you would use. Change the number, in the parentheses to whatever you want. And then we made that a tutorial and sent it out to our members. And we also put it in our community. So now they know how to do that. But what that does is it gets them thinking, oh, what else could I ask ChatGPT for?
Mm,
Right? Like now they ask ChatGPT, what colors should I use if my ideal customer avatar is blah? Or what copy should I put on my sales page for blah? And it's like it just
mm,
gets them thinking and using it really well. So just the more you educate your users in ways that have them do other things other than bug you,
hands off.
yeah, the better they're going to be. Plus,
Mm.
they actually love you for it because they feel so empowered, right?
Hmm.
They feel so in control. And the more you can help your users feel in control and knowledgeable and capable and able, the more they love your service and they don't want to go anywhere.
Hmm. I love it. I think that's like I can see this a circle that you've defined. Make your strategy around customer service, make your clients self-reliant by putting out a ton of help out there. Don't do the work yourself. Make sure if there is
Mhm.
an issue, let your team handle that. That's an escalation of from self-reliant. They can't figure it out. Okay, let your team handle it, not you. And then finally use AI to automate it, and then also to teach it back to your clients and your community.
That's right.
So you're not just doing it over and over again for everyone. You do it once if you have to. You record it and you share it with the community. So everyone's getting empowered. They're learning. They're growing. And now you're solving a higher level problem anytime that comes in. And even that, you're not doing it yourself. You just forward it over to your team.
That's right. And with it, we use Extendly. With Extendly, you can like create additional help docs. So we put this stuff in those help docs too. And that, we tell people to look there, or we really try to just make them as like have as much ownership of their own sub account as possible. And that makes them it. I know like sometimes people are like, oh, you have to have like all this support and do it for them. They
Hmm.
actually feel better when they know how to do it themselves. They feel more in control and not so much trapped by the system. I
Hmm.
think I got that
Hmm.
from being a high school teacher because, like, as a high school teacher, what are you doing? You're making adults,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
when kids would be like, "Oh, can you do this for me?" and the answer is no,
Hmm.
like figure it out how to do it, come to me with your solution, and then if I have some tips for you, then I'll give it to you. But you're making adults, and it's the same thing when people come into SaaS. They're confused. It's new, it's different. Things are in different places than what they're used
Hmm.
to. And the more you can give them ownership of it, the more they enjoy the system, and the more creative they get with it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, how does Shannon has this ability of so simplify oversimplifying things, right? And that's what we need. Sometimes we really, really struggle with that, especially with technical entrepreneurs. But this is great, like how you simplify concepts. Like I'm sitting here learning, right? Like I'm building these circles in my head that hey, this is the concept that Shannon is trying to do. So great. I think being a school teacher definitely helps out.
Mhm.
My last question in this segment, Shannon, for you is that AI is that like especially with small businesses, people who haven't used it, it's something that most people are afraid of, right? What's that one thing that every business owner can do right now, so that they can get to use AI and have a bit of impact on their business that anyone can easily do?
I think the AI conversation bot is really, really easy. It's just training it, giving it, and it's fun to play with when you're
So is this
doing,
like a chat bot on your website you're talking
yeah,
about?
the chat bot on the website. It can help a lot of businesses to get more appointments, handle their clients, and it actually is really fun when you're training it
Hmm.
in the high level conversation AI. So you make a really good prompt, and then you're just modifying the prompt as you go, and then it's like having conversations. And what we found is like our clients get really into the conversations and into training it. And
Hmm.
what they're most excited about is not having a $50,000 or a $70,000 employee that has to take all the calls.
Hmm.
So what we do is we do everything comparison through contrast. We're like, okay, we're going to spend, 10 or 15 hours training this bot,
Hmm.
or you're going to spend 10 or 15 hours hiring a new employee who may or may not make it,
Hmm.
setting up the taxes, setting up the workers comp, like all of that. And then you're going to have to pay them 50 or $60,000 a year. Or we can put 15 hours into training this conversation bot and have it be whoever you want it to be. It's going to be the perfect employee. And they
Hmm.
get really excited about that. It is fairly simple when you explain it that way. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this could literally replace an employee.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what would you do with an extra $50,000? Pay for your kids, retire. Like, if you did that for 5 years, you could probably retire a year or two earlier.
Hmm.
Take that 50K and put it into a retirement fund. And you just get them thinking creatively like that. So I
Yeah.
really like the conversation AI. I think it's such a value for our clients, and it's really easy to train and set up.
So is this something built in? Like, what's the tool you're using?
Yeah,
GHL?
it's built right in high level. Like, anyone who's not offering that to your clients right now, I feel like you're totally missing out. Um, we charge them $1,000 for assisted setup, and then we
Hmm.
charge $5,000 to like full setup. Like, we'll train it, we'll go through the conversations, we'll make sure it's answering all the questions correctly. So $1,000, we give them the prompt, we give them a couple of videos, show them how to train it, how to do that, and then we monitor it. And 5,000 will do the full setup.
Nice. So like if I was setting it up for my business, what are some of the things that you're talking about this training thing? And a layman person like me would be like, like, man, this is already over my head. So how would I train an AI bot on my business?
So, well, it's over your head right now because we haven't taken you through the like, okay, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three, right? Click this, click that,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But we give them a template for our prompt, and it starts with who is your chatbot? What tone do you want? And they give a whole description, and the description is usually pretty thorough. Like, she's 28, she's very friendly, she has a bubbly personality. Some people put in, she's Christian, or she's Muslim, or she's this, or
Nice.
she's that, right? Um, and then she's very knowledgeable in blah. And then we have a whole little sentence that says, please communicate to someone at a sixth grade reading level. Do not use big words or terms they might not understand. Use short sentences. Things like that are standard. Then they build out a whole FAQ, like
Hmm.
about their business, of the most common asked questions that they get. Hey, do you guys, install gutters? That's like a big one for roof companies. Do they or do they not install gutters? Some do,
Hmm.
some don't. Do you do metal roofs? Do you do this? Right. So they'll build all that FAQ out with the answers they want it to respond.
Hmm.
And then there's a testing mode where you can have these test conversations, and they go through a couple times, and anything that they don't like, we just modify in that prompt.
Hmm.
So maybe they found that they didn't like the tone of voice, or it used a word. Cursing is a big one, curse or don't curse, use hell or use heck, don't use heck. It's like, so we just go through those instructions. And then we also, which is a big thing, we load up testimonials in that prompt too, so that the AI can say, sure, we do metal roofs, like our client who left us a Google review with that said blah 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 blah. Would you like to
Hmm.
set up a free a free consultation? Yes. Okay, great. What works? Wednesday or Thursday, right? And you can choose to either drop a link for the booking or to have the AI do the booking.
Hmm.
So either one works and it will literally have the all those conversations.
Hmm. Love it. Love it. That's amazing. Um, what can I say, Shannon? I think that that's been incredible. We can all start there. And the analogy that you gave, right? Like if you're having a tough time figuring out, like, is this a good investment for me or not? Think about hiring that employee for $50,000 and training that person. And then that person is doing this all manually. This bot, you set and forget for the most part. And, from time to time, you make it better.
Mhm.
uh, so phenomenal, and it's pretty easy. But like if you're still on the fence, talk to Shannon. She's amazing at it. All right, let's move into our rapid fire. Three more ideas, Shannon, and these are specifically for you. I came up with after meeting you and learning everything I could find about you. My first phrase for you is uh, work, family, and self.
Um, those so in my opinion, self should be first because you have to take care of yourself in order to show up powerfully for your family and your work. Family always comes before my work. 100%. I teach a scheduling method to our clients where they build in their self time first, they build in their
Hmm.
family time second. Self also includes spirituality. So if they're going to church or anything like that, that's included in there. Their family time second, and then their work time third. And to me,
Hmm.
that's really important to do it that way.
Yeah, very well put. I think it's from learning from you, looking at you, how you deal with everything. That's exactly how you do things.
Mhm.
Uh, Here's my second one: coaching versus DIY.
Oh, definitely coaching. I would not when I started my first business in 2002, we invested and I'm not telling anybody to do this. I'm going to preempt this. This is not me giving you financial advice. We invested every single penny we had into hiring a mentor, and we followed exactly what the mentor told us to do. Like we were ignorance on fire. We had no opinion about it. I just
Hmm.
said, please get me to $20,000 a month as quickly as possible. We got to 20,000 a month in 90 days. We got to 100,000 a month in 7 months. And we invested $20,000 in that mentor. And I will tell you that we didn't have 20,000 laying around. Like I had to finagle my mortgage. I had to, I sold furniture. I mean, I had empty rooms in my house. Like we did everything we could to hire this guy because he was doing so well. And that 20,000 investment made us $1.4 million in 16 months.
Hmm.
So I'm not a DIY person at all.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think like the most successful people that I've met lately, they have this story of going all out, and
Mhm.
more often than not, it's usually them going all out on a coach or a
Mhm,
mentor, or just going all in this one
mhm.
thing. Like, hey, I'm gonna take this last money, I'm just gonna spend it on beer and everything that I've been doing, and just keep thinking about that why isn't it working, or take this last $1,500 that I had investing into the coaching service, to just go all in and then following it to the T, right? It's
Yeah.
Andrew Cass, our client, and our JV partner. He says about coaching. Coaching is basically you're buying time for yourself, right? Like
Mhm.
you're speeding things up, you're finding gas for the fire. So why not, right? Like if you can, coaching is always the first option.
Here's the
Okay.
reality, I'm gonna add one other thing to that. You would never take advice from somebody who is inexperienced in what you wanna learn or know about or be successful in. Like, if I was standing in a room and somebody was giving me advice on something and I asked them what results they had gotten in that area and they said
Mm.
none, I would disregard the advice.
Mhm.
But people
Yeah,
don't apply that to themselves.
yeah,
So why
Yeah.
would you take your own advice on something that you are inexperienced and untrained at?
Yeah. That's
That's a
very well
very
put.
important thing to think about. Yeah,
Yeah. Totally. Right. You won't work with a coach who hasn't had experience. Why would you
mhm.
listen to yourself? Because you know nothing.
That's right.
Perfect. All right. So I think I know the answer to this one, but I want to hear one more time from you. Favorite CRM?
High level. Yay.
All right. And how long have you been working with high levels, Shannon? Like, can you give us like a brief timeline on when you started and where you're at with it?
Yeah, so I've been working with high level for 2.5 years. I first started with my own account, then I partnered with somebody. It was a total disaster. And then I picked myself up from that and we started Brand Builder AI in 2022, right at the end of 2022.
Wow. And you guys have moved up really, really fast on the high level scale, and the work you're doing in the community is phenomenal. Thanks for doing everything, Shannon. I really appreciate you taking the time out. This was amazing. It's always great catching up with you. I'm looking forward to seeing you soon in Dallas, and hopefully get to collaborate on some projects before that.
So excited. We love RepStack. Thank you so much for having me out here. I appreciate it. And to everyone watching, thanks for spending your time with us too. I really appreciate it.